Millonario sale de su casa en la tormenta. Yvea dos niños en la puerta preguntando por su empleada. The rain hammered down like it was trying to wash the whole world away. Thunder cracked overhead as lightning lit up the sky. Most people in that wealthy neighborhood were safe inside their mansions, doors locked tight, fireplaces glowing. But on this brutal night, something extraordinary was about to happen, something that would prove one simple truth: kindness has the power to change everything. What if on the worst night of the year, two small children showed up soaking wet at a millionaire's door, not asking for money, not asking for shelter, but asking for their mother? Stay with me, because this true inspired story will touch your heart and remind you why being kind matters more than any amount of wealth. If you're new here or you love stories that restore your faith in humanity, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story from Corner of Kind Choices. Give this video a like if you believe kindness is never wasted, and drop a comment telling me about a time someone's kindness changed your day. Let's spread more good in the world together. The story begins with Richard Caldwell. At 52 years old, Richard had everything money could buy and nothing that truly filled his heart. He built a successful tech company from nothing, sold it for millions, and now lived in a sprawling mansion on the outskirts of Austin, Texas. Marble floors, a home theater, 3 luxury cars in the garage, but the house felt cold and empty. His wife had passed away years earlier, and his grown children lived across the country. Most days, Richard worked from home, barked orders at his staff, and kept everyone at arm's length. Maria had worked for him for almost 4 years. She was his housekeeper, quiet, hard-working, and always early. She cleaned without being asked twice, prepared simple meals when he forgot to eat, and never complained. Richard barely noticed her beyond a quick good morning or instructions left on the kitchen counter. To him, she was just part of the house staff. That night, the storm was one of the worst in years. Rain came down in sheets. Trees swayed dangerously. Richard sat in his study, staring at stock numbers on his computer, when he heard a faint knock at the front door. At first he thought it was the wind. Then it came again, soft, hesitant. Grumbling, he grabbed a rain jacket and stepped outside under the grand portico. The security light clicked on, revealing 2 small figures huddled together on his doorstep. A boy and a girl, no older than 8 and 10. They were drenched, shivering, their thin jackets soaked through. The little girl clutched her brother's hand tightly. Richard froze. What in the world? Kids, what are you doing out here? It's dangerous. The boy looked up with big, worried eyes. Sir, is our mom here? Her name is Maria. She works here. She didn't come home after her shift and our grandma is really sick. We didn't know where else to go. The girl's voice trembled. Please, mister. We walked a long way. Mama said this was the big white house with the iron gate. Richard's chest tightened. Maria. His housekeeper. In all the years she'd worked for him, he had never asked about her family, never wondered what her life was like outside these walls. Now her children stood before him, terrified and freezing, because their mother hadn't made it home. Come inside right now, he said, his voice gentler than it had been in years. He ushered them into the warm foyer. Water dripped from their clothes onto the marble. The kids looked around in awe and fear, as if they had stepped into another world. Richard grabbed thick towels from the linen closet and wrapped them around the children. He turned on the fireplace in the living room and sat them down. Stay right here. I'm going to find your mom. He called Maria's phone. No answer. Then he remembered she had mentioned once that her old car sometimes broke down in bad weather. His mind raced. These kids had walked miles in the storm. Their grandmother was sick at home. And Maria was probably stranded somewhere on the side of the road. Without thinking twice, Richard grabbed his keys. He drove his heavy SUV out into the storm, windshield wipers fighting against the rain. He followed the route Maria usually took home. About 3 miles down the road, he spotted her beat-up sedan on the shoulder, hazard lights barely blinking. Maria was inside, soaked and exhausted, trying to fix a flat tire in the pouring rain. When she saw his car pull up, her face filled with shock and embarrassment. "Mr. Caldwell? What are you?" "Your kids are at my house," he said simply, helping her into his warm vehicle. "They're safe. Let's get you home to them." The drive back was quiet at first. Maria wiped tears from her eyes. She told him everything. Her mother had suffered a bad fall earlier that day. Maria had stayed late to finish work so she wouldn't lose hours. Her car broke down. Her phone died. And her 2 children, brave beyond their years, decided to walk to the only place they knew their mother might be. When they arrived back at the mansion, the children ran into their mother's arms, sobbing with relief. Richard watched them, something stirring deep inside him. He ordered hot soup and sandwiches from his kitchen staff. Then he did something he had never done before. He sat down with them. That night, Richard learned Maria was a single mother raising 2 kids while caring for her aging mother. She took 2 buses to get to his house every day. She worked hard not just for a paycheck, but because she dreamed of giving her children a better life. She had never once asked him for extra help or time off, even when things were clearly falling apart. The next morning, after the storm passed, Richard made some calls. He arranged for a reliable car to be delivered to Maria's home, no strings attached. He paid for her mother's medical care and physical therapy. Most importantly, he gave Maria a substantial raise and flexible hours so she could be there for her family. But the real change happened inside Richard. For the first time in years, he felt alive. The mansion didn't feel empty anymore. He started inviting Maria's family over for weekends. He played soccer with the kids in the backyard. He listened to their stories and shared some of his own. The children began calling him Mr. Rich with big smiles. Maria's mother recovered and even joined them for Sunday dinners. Word of what happened spread quietly through the community. People who knew Richard as cold and distant were stunned by the transformation. He began volunteering at local shelters, mentoring young entrepreneurs who didn't have his advantages, and quietly helping other families in need. He discovered that giving didn't diminish his success, it multiplied his happiness. Years later, Richard stood at the high school graduation of Maria's son. The young man, now tall and confident, walked across the stage and looked straight at Richard in the audience. In his speech, he said, "A kind man once opened his door on the worst night of our lives. He showed me that real wealth isn't in money, it's in how you treat people when they have nothing to give you back." Richard wiped tears from his eyes. He had thought he was helping a struggling family. In reality, that stormy night, 2 brave children had saved him. Kindness doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it starts with opening a door during a storm. Sometimes it's listening when someone needs to be heard. Sometimes it's choosing to see the human being behind the job title. You don't need to be a millionaire to change someone's life. A warm meal, a helping hand, a listening ear, or simply showing up can create ripples that reach further than you'll ever know. So today, I challenge you, look for your own stormy night moment. Notice the people around you, your co-workers, your neighbors, the stranger struggling with groceries. Be the person who opens the door. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Corner of Kind Choices for more heartwarming stories that remind us what really matters. Drop a comment with the word kindness if you're committing to spread more of it this week. Remember, the world is changed one small, brave act at a time. And it can start with you. Word count, 1298.